testing in Azure Test Plan. Those who have seen the tool in the past, it's all about creating a test plan, name your test plan. Like in my case, I'm naming it as Sprint PI1, hit on create button, and there you go. You have a test plan created. Anything that you do in this tool for the testing activity or test management, it has to start from test plan. So let's take a look about this in the project itself and how it works by creating a test plan. So this is my current project. It's an agile based project, customer onboarding. The Salesforce project for all the sales order, lead generation, opportunities, etc. And the second part of this project is also data migration. So there's an existing platform in place which you would like to migrate into a new Salesforce database. So a data migration activity has to happen as well. So there are two parts to this project, and it's designed in, well, the life cycle of this project is agile. As I mentioned, anything to do with the test activity in this tool has to start from test plan. So from my project, here is the test plan, and I'm going to click on test plan first. There is an existing test plan that you can see here. That's not what we are interested in. We are going to create a new test plan. In the past, when I was struggling to find information, let's say about 2 years ago, when I was thinking of learning this tool for one of my projects, there wasn't enough information available about what should be the naming convention for the test plan. So here, let's go ahead and create a test plan first. So on your project, under the test plan, there is this test plan page where you have new test plan button. So click on it. The name, when I was looking for a reference to start with, all the YouTube videos said sample test plan 1 or something of that nature. In reality, when you go about and work on your project, you don't create things like that. So you have to have a strategy in place, what sort of test plan you need to create. So how do we name our test plan? Here is a reference that I had initially. In my Agile project, as I mentioned, we are working in sprint level activities, and it's a 2-week cycle. On this diagram, you can clearly see there are user stories, technical stories, bugs are part of the sprint activity. Now, what happens in sprint cycle, it's pretty much the same in every sprint. You have a user story being worked upon by a developer. At certain point, a developer would finish his story and raise a pull request to get it merged into developer. As and when the pull request is approved, merged to develop, it generates an artifact or a build, you can say, from a build pipeline. That build you deploy into your test environment and you perform your sprint testing activity. So I decided to go ahead and create a test plan with this sprint name itself. So every sprint will have a new test plan created. There's another reference that I had. At the end of this sprint, you would see there's a working software. Now, an efficient agile team delivers artifact every sprint. What you do is you actually perform a regression on all that product increment. So after every sprint, you also do a regression of your working software. So these 2 points were important for me to decide on designing or naming my test plan. So back to where we were. Let's go ahead and create our test plan for sprint PI1 or product increment 1. Now that we know we are going to create a test cases for all our user stories that is there in the sprint, it makes complete sense to name your test plan with your sprint name itself. So sprint PI1 is the name of the test plan. Area path is really an important point for any testers to understand. It's because when you go for a reporting and traceability purpose, you need to know where your original requirements are. This one at the moment is customer onboarding, and I know in my project all the requirement that I'm going to create test case for is under customer onboarding area path. So but in the future, as we go ahead with this course, I'll explain you more about area path. Iteration path is by default selected here. You can see customer onboarding PI1. That's the current active sprint, and it has just by default given me. If you are creating for any other iteration, you can simply click on it and select your iteration. But for me, it's PI1. So let's go ahead and create a test plan. This view here is the easiest and simple possible view. Quite a minimalistic UI, I can say, that it makes easy to understand that you are now inside a test plan. Test plan name is sprint PI1. So within this sprint PI1 test plan, I have this test suite section. You can go and create a test suite here, but before we go about and create a test suite, I'll explain you what these test suites are, right? So let's click on this three dots and you would see new suite as an option. And when I mouse over it, you would see three options available: static suite, requirement based suite, and query based suite. The static suite is just a folder, right? You would, if you want to have a segregation of your test cases by some naming convention, like login feature, customer onboarding feature, etc. So when you don't want to define your test cases as specific to an original requirement, you would create just a static suite based on the name of the feature, maybe, right? So that's what your static suites are. But for us, we now know that we are going to create a test case for a user story, all the stories that are part of sprint PI1. So there's another option called requirement based suite, right? For this reference and for this test plan, I'll just create a requirement based test suite, but in other test plan which we'll create after this one, I'll use the static suite and query based suite as well, and that you'll be able to understand why we are using all these three options and its value of having it in this place. So let's go ahead and select a requirement based suite. This is actually a search screen repurposed here to actually go and filter your requirements so that you can select the requirement and use into your test cases. This work item direct links option available, and you have a flat list of work item. I have chosen work item and direct link because I would like to filter by something. And when I select this option, your view would look something like this. So you have what do you want and what do you want to filter it by. So before I explain you more, let's go ahead and search this. So I'm saying my work item type is a user story, and it is under the area path customer onboarding. What I would like you to do is to filter that by iteration path, and the name of my iteration is PI1. And I run the query and I get all the stories that are part of the sprint. So that's one way of searching. Let's go ahead and select flat list of work items. So when I select this, the options that are available now has changed. You can see work item type in the group. Now what it is saying is there are groups available, and these groups are, here's the list of the groups available. What is interesting is to know that you have an option of like test case category, test plan category. So you can search by test case, test plan, everything. But for you, when you're writing your when you're deciding to create a test plan and under that your test suite, what is important is the strategy that you have in place. For us at the moment, we are worrying about our user stories, so it's actually a requirement category. Requirement category is a user story category in Azure Test Plan, and the area path is the customer onboarding. Because I do not have a lot of user stories at the moment, when I click run query, it is going to give me the same list that I had in the previous query. So I can select this and create a test suite. Now there's one important thing, a lot of people make a mistake here is when they're doing it for the first time, they go and click on these links. These are hyperlinks. I don't know what is the purpose of having that here as a hyperlink, because accidentally when you click on it, it takes you to an original requirement. But yeah, keeping that aside, you have this simple options available. So you can basically click and select this, all these stories. So now that you have selected all these stories that you want to be part of your test plan as a test suite, you just select those and click create suite. Now in a minute, yeah, there you go. So it has created a pre-populated folder with the name of the user story itself and a number as a reference to it. What benefit does it bring to us? It's actually creating a traceability from your requirement all the way to your test plan. Understand the test plan, although it's part of the same project, it doesn't define which requirement I'm testing. So having a requirement based test suite makes it easier to trace it back. How? Let's take a look. So for example, if this one, I right click over this and say view the requirement, the original requirement that you have. Click on it and it takes you back to the user story, and that's your original user story for which you're writing your test cases. That's simple. Now you have all the story that are part of this sprint. You can go and create your test cases. On the right hand side where you have the actual panel of the test cases itself, you have 3 tabs available: define tab, execute tab, and chart tab. So define tab is, as it suggests, is that all your test cases that are part of logging and error handling will be listed here. You can choose some of or all of the test cases to be part of in the execute tab. Well, whatever you write here will always be available here. You can choose the test case to execute the test, and the chart suggests there are 2 options here, by the way. You can create a test case chart telling you how many test cases you have and what are their statuses, or the test result chart. So what happens is after the execution, it tells you how many test cases have passed, failed, not applicable, etc. So those kind of charts will be available for that test suite within this view. Test case. There are a couple of different ways you can create a test case. In fact, there are 3. One of which is what we are going to use now. The second one is using the grid option, and the third one is importing your test case from your Excel sheet into the test plan directly. So let's click on new test case here. The title is system logs error correctly. Here, let's start writing a test scenario here, for example, saying as a sales rep login to Salesforce, login successful. The next step available. Now that you know that the customer is there, so you would verify the customer data is available. Open create sales order screen. Sales order screen is visible. You all know the drill anyways. So here I'm going to trigger a situation which is going to actually trigger an error, and we can see that error in the system at some point. So that's this test is all about. So what I'm going to do is, while creating a sales order, so let's say create a sales order with invalid customer, or customer may exist but do not have any reference in the database, or customer has been in active mode, etc. Sales order submitted. Check the log files. Now that is where, after it's been submitted, you would like to go and verify that because you have selected an invalid customer, it has triggered something behind the scenes. So the expected result is that we want to see that the test case has failed and it has generated the error log. And this is this test case all about. And this is the most, as I mentioned, a traditional way of writing test case, which is available in this tool. So let's click on save and close. So now you see that there is one test case added in this test suite. If I go to execute tab, you would see the same test case available here. So on this view, on this define tab, you see that there are options available here as the navigation options. So first one is export test cases to a file. You can import the test cases from the CSV or XLS file, which is the option I was saying, the third option. Then the option here is a grid view. Now, I am not sure why the designer or the creator of Azure Test Plan have not thought about having it as an option as create test cases in grid view instead of calling it as a grid view, because you genuinely don't go and think about that, oh, this is a way I can go and create a test case. It simply tells me that there is an option that I can view my test cases in a grid. But when you click on this, what you see is that it actually looks like a spreadsheet to me. So I can go and create my test case here again. So that's the second way of writing a test case. How it works, let's take a look. So like the way you did earlier, you put a title and then a step in action, you can do the same here. So as I have it here already, let's copy and paste this option. So system logs warning. So I'm just putting some steps in here. And then you have the expected result after this. So test that. So what I have done is I have added a title of the test case, this steps action available for that, and the expected outcome for this. At the moment, you would notice that these two columns are empty in my case. Well, the row for that column is empty in my case. Here it says whiteboard learning and the state is design. As soon as I save this grid view, it will populate this value, and for that matter the ID is also not available here. So this is just a grid view where I have written my case, but I have not saved it to actually have a work item created in the Azure Test Plan. So you see, not very intuitive, but there is a save test case button here. It's not telling you exactly that it is available for you to hit on it and just save the test case. Again, a slightly poor design on it, but it works. So when you click on save, you would notice that it has now created a test case here, and the test case ID is 109, system logs warning. And here at that level, now you see that it is assigned to whiteboard learning and the status is design. Now when you click on close the grid, you see there are two test cases available. So the third option is by importing an Excel file which has a test case in it. So within the same test suite, what we have done so far is we have created a test case. The first one by a traditional approach. The second one is by the grid approach. The third one, I'm going to demo you how you can import a CSV file or an XLS file and create a test case. I will quickly demo you this part, and then the next one is where I'll actually go and create a spreadsheet in front of you and we'll import that so that we know the nitty-gritty of the details required in your Excel file. So this icon here is for the import test case. Select this, choose your file, open the file. So this import button is now enabled. Hit import. If you want, just ignore it, like do not show this message again, or just click confirm. This has successfully imported a new test case here. There are a few things that you would notice straight away is that this is unassigned. So it means that it has not given to any tester yet. Why? I'll show you that in a minute. The second one is that all the details that we usually go and create is populated within the work item test case. So it's pretty much the same that you would do otherwise while going and creating and via creating a grid view. So it's the same thing, pretty much the same thing. So here there are three options, all three used within the same test suite. I want to use another test suite to demo the bulk import of a test case using CSV or Excel format. But how do we know the actual format of the file itself? We need to know the column names that should be there in the spreadsheet. For that, as a reference, I have used a grid view, which is nothing but an Excel sheet lookalike. So these are the columns that I have used in my spreadsheet, and in this spreadsheet we are going to add the details that we need, the test steps and the expected result, etc. So let's go ahead and have it here. We'll do a copy paste here to save the time. The title of the test case, and that's the title of the test case here. These steps. So because the first row has been occupied for the title, we'll have to use the second row for our steps as it was shown in the grid. Let's prepare all of that steps in place. We'll use the expected result now. Here that is. I'll leave the assign to as blank at the moment. We don't want to assign this to anybody. The test case will go as unassigned, and the state is going to be design. So that's the first state in the workflow of a test case. So yeah, we'll keep that as this. ID is going to be created by the system itself, so we don't have to worry about it now. So let's save this file, ensure that it's saved properly. Yeah, and we'll import it. Now for your reference purpose, I'm telling you that this is going to fail in the first import for an obvious reason. What I would like to show you is the error, that how you're going to read the error and how you're going to fix the problem in your spreadsheet. So back to your test suite, click on this import, choose your file. I think it says loading up to iCloud. Yeah, it's done. And hit import, confirm, and there you go. The first message that it has, it is complaining about work item type, test step, and step expected. It's really easy to understand this message. In this case, it says that on your spreadsheet somehow you missed the work item type. What it is trying to tell me is that you're asking me to import something into the database, but you're not telling me what type of work item it is. Is it going to be a user story or a feature or a pick? Just tell me what it is, right? So we need to tell this that we are going to import a work item type test case. So it is complaining about this. Not having this column has resulted the failure. So that's work item type. In our case, it's a test case. So yeah, we have to define what type of work item it is. So that's the first thing. The second error says that it is missing a test step. What it's saying is that there are actions available, but we need to know the sequence of this action and a corresponding expected results to it. So let's go ahead and create a column again. I want it to be this side, so let's insert here and we'll say test step, and we'll say sequence is as 1 and this is 2. So that is sorted. The third error it says is step expected. Now I do have that column here as step expected. However, I have this additional text as a result in here. So let's take this off and save this file again. We'll leave everything as is. Because the error was specific to these columns, I have made the necessary changes. So we have a format in place now. So we understand that this is going to work. Let's go ahead and re-import the file. Oh, it's still loading. Yeah. Import, confirm, and it has imported all of it. Let's go ahead and add few more test cases to the same spreadsheet and update the existing test case there and see what happens, because there is also a possibility of you updating the existing test cases. So I'm going to create another test case with the title here. The work item type is test case. That's the title of the test case. Step 1. And I have, okay, so this is step 2. In fact, so I put it into the wrong place. Yeah. Step 2. And now we have the expected result. Right. This is going to be the design state. So another test case being added. Let's update the first one. Open mapping document and verify the fields. Okay, it says that field data should have let's say source to target information. Source to target information, like that. So this is just, I have added a test case, another one, and then updated the existing test case. Let's go ahead and add another test case so that we'll have multiple test cases in place. But before we import, because we are modifying this test case by adding a few more details to it, if we keep this field blank, it is going to create a new test case. So if you're saying we are modifying an existing case, we have to provide an ID to it. So let's find out what was the ID for this first one. Yeah, that's 113. So we are going to add 113 here as test case ID, ensuring that it goes and picks and update the existing test case. So let's save it and re-import the file. Choose a file, still uploading in iCloud. So yeah, it's done now. Let's import this, confirm, and there you go. It says 1 test case updated, 2 test cases created, which means, yeah, there is an update to an existing one. So that's good. Take a look at the test cases, the details we have added. Other than those 3 options available for you to create a test case for a requirement, there is a 4th option available, which is directly creating your test case from the user story itself. So on your sprint board, you can, if you want to add a test case, you can simply, let's say for example, I want to add a test case for this user story. I can click on those 3 dots on the card itself, and there is this option available called add test. click on add test, and you can just add the test case you want. So for example, say add test, and here it is. I have added my test case, and it is pretty much the same thing that you have done using a test plan approach. Which option is better? It depends on your team's strategy. In my personal opinion, if you are more open about your reporting purposes and execution details available for stakeholders and wider audience, going via test plan approach, having a sprint level test plan makes it way easier, because you can club all your requirement as test suite and create your test cases inside an individual test suite, execute and generate a report. This, on the other hand, is an isolated activity only available within that user story. So although it's an approach, but it depends on your circumstances, which one would you like to use. The other option I can tell you, in fact, within a similar line, you can, let's say you open this user story and you click on this add link button, new item, and then you can say the work item you would like to create is a test case. Give a title to your test case. So let's add a title, which is this, and add a link. Here you go. So that test case is being created. You can add a test case the way you have been doing in earlier videos that you have seen. So this is another way of adding your test cases.